Today, we're going to be talking about the Environment for Revit plugin. It is a powerful set of tools that turns Revit into the best software I've seen for landscape and site design. It provides dozens of tools for a variety of different tasks, from modeling the terrain and retaining walls, all the way up to vegetation design, geolocation, documentation, interoperability with other software used in the landscape industry, and more. Environment for Revit version 12 was released at the end of January, and I was planning to make a review for a couple of months now, so I contacted the vendor for this video to showcase the plugin, and they agreed, so full disclosure, this is a sponsored video. However, they've told me that they're already about to release the next version in a few days, so I decided not to go through the whole thing this time, and instead we're just going to be focusing on a few highlights and exciting features from the 12th version. And then I will be making a complete Environment for Revit review after they release the next version. On my website, balkanarchitect.com, I'm going to link it up in the cards above and then also down in the description of this video. You can find a full course on site design and coordination in Revit, which was done in collaboration with the Environment for Revit plugin. So you can learn more about the full workflow with this plugin, and also you can get an extended trial if you purchase that course. If you would like to try out the Environment for Revit plugin, I'm going to be including the links up in the cards above and then also down in the description of this video. Use the coupon code BalkanArchitect to get an extra 55 days on your purchase. Now, without any further ado, let's jump straight into Revit. And here we are in Revit. We're on the Environment tab, which you're going to get when you install the Environment for Revit plugin. Now, the first tool that I want to show you is Create Excavation. Now, it might be hidden here down below the Topography tools, and this is a tool that's going to allow you to create a highly detailed, precise excavation for your projects. So let's test it out. So I can just click here, or I can open up the drop menu and then click on it here. So here we go, Create Excavation. Now, first, we need to specify what to do with the existing topography. So the first one is ignore existing topography, meaning that it's going to create an independent topography below the selected elements. Then we have connect to existing topography. This means that you will get both the existing topography and a new topography. And finally, we have the modify existing topography, meaning it's just going to cut the original topography. Now I'm going to pick modify existing topography, and then we need to specify it. So I'm just going to click on that existing topography. Then we have the excavation profile settings. So for this, I'm just going to show this little preview or representation of what these options mean. So first we have the height offset. So that's kind of a vertical offset for all of the elements. Then we have the side offset, which is this, basically the side offset from all of the elements. And finally, we have the slope definition, which is this here, where you can define any slope created by this excavation. So I'm actually happy with these existing settings, so I'm just going to leave them as is. So I'm then going to click here on hide. And finally, we need to specify the items that we're going to be using to define this excavation. So these are model elements from the house. So for that, I'm just going to make a big cross selection of the entire house like this. And then I can go here into filter. And then here we can remove some. So for example, roof doesn't really make sense to include. We also can remove the generic models. And for the rest of these, yeah, I'm just going to keep them checked on. And then also we can filter by level. So for example, anything on the roof level doesn't really make sense to use for creating an excavation. So let's remove those as well. And then I can click apply. So a few items have been removed, making the calculation a lot easier and quicker. And then finally, I can just click OK. So now it's going to ask us, do we want to, or just to kind of specify our new topo solid. So here we can set it to be at floor plan level, and then for the family, let's go with TopoSolid 1, and then I'm just going to click OK. Now here it's going to give us an option to save a project, just because in some cases the calculation can take a long time. In this case, this is a very simple project, so I'm just going to continue without saving, and now the create excavation process is going to start. And after only 22 seconds, this is what we get. So just to see it a bit better, let me turn on the section box, and then let's cut into this a little bit. And as you can see, it basically carved out our TopoSolid perfectly following the foundation. So if I move this in a little bit further, as you can see, this is what that looks like. So it's perfectly following the offsets that we have predefined. Let's just check out the other side as well. So cut it from here. As you can see, yeah, looks perfect in here for the floor. Yeah, following offsets on all sides. So doing this manually would take hours, most likely, and definitely wouldn't look this good. So it's a really huge time saver and an amazing feature. Now let's talk about curb ramps. So modeling curb ramps in Revit was always annoying and slow. Luckily, with this new release of environment, we have a specialized tool for that. So it's called curb ramp. And let me show you how it works. So here, let's say we want to create a curb ramp over here. So what I would do is I would just go here to curb ramp, open that up. And then we have multiple options. So the first approach is 2 points with flares, and then we have 2 points without flares. So basically 2 points means that we just use 2 points to define the width of this curb ramp, and then with flares means with these little triangles on the sides, and without flares is, well, without those. Then we have 4 points, which is basically by sketch, and in this case we don't have flares. So for the first one, let's go with 2 points. And then here we have some dimension settings. So we have the ramp slope, we have the flare lateral slope. So I'm just going to change the ramp slope to 3.5. And then we also have an offset from target. So the target is the bottom of the ramp. So do you want the ramp to go all the way to the floor below, in this case the road, or do you want to have a small offset? In this case, I'm just going to leave that at 0. Then we have the face material. See here how we have a different color. Well, we can define that here. So I can just click here and let's search for parking stripe. Here we have this material, nice yellow. It's great for visibility. So I'm just going to pick that. So now that material has been applied. And then we also have the option to place RAM family for scheduling, which is cool. So I'm just going to leave that checked on. Okay, so now it's just a matter of placing it. So let's do the first click here, extend it. So I want it to be this wide, for example. And then we need to click on the target, which will be this floor down here. And that's pretty much it. As you can see, we have a curb ramp applied over here, and we have that parking striped material applied as well. Now on the other side, let's do the 2-point one. So the 2 points without flares. So let's just select that, same settings, click once again, and then click on the bottom. And there we go, another curb ramp. Now you may be thinking, well, that's nice, but what do we do in situations if our floor edge is curved? So let's try that. So I'm just going to click once here, extend it, click once again here, and then click on the bottom. And there we go, we have an angled curb ramp. Really cool. And finally, let me show you the 4-point one. So this one, that's the sketch one. So it's basically, as I said, it's sketching it out. So I can then come here, click here, extend it like that, and then let's go with something like this. So like that, 4 points. And then we of course have to hit the target, so the bottom of the ramp, which is here, and it's going to create this interesting ramp that looks like this. And then I can just simply click OK, and there we go. So now we have these interesting curb ramps that were all created with just a few clicks. Now let's talk about edit wall in place. So creating a straight sloped wall is an annoying task, and it's next to impossible to do it for a chain of curved walls. Well, by using the environment edit wall in place, we can do exactly that. So here I have a chain of curved walls. Now keep in mind that these are tangent arcs, so they have to be tangent so we can kind of continue seamlessly. So anyways, we can just select this, go to environment, edit wall in place, and now we need to just select one of the edges. So let's say here we have this topography, and the topography is higher on this side and it's lower on this side, so the wall, a retaining wall, needs to follow that. So it needs to be higher here, lower here, and also for aesthetic purposes makes sense to have it kind of nice and smooth. So I would just simply come and select this point here, lift it up like that, and then I would go to the other side, select this edge here, and then click there, pull this down a little bit, just like that. And here, as you can see, we can finish, we can go back, we can cancel, but of course I'm just going to hit finish, and it's going to do a little bit of calculating, and we're done. And as you can see, completely smooth, seamless edge on top of the wall, a sloped edge, and as you can see, it's basically creating voids that are cutting down each one of these wall segments, and now we have basically adjusted this retaining wall to follow our topography. Now let's talk about point clouds. So point clouds are a big new thing in the AEC industry. We now have abilities to scan the terrain and then bring it into the software. However, there's always an issue how you go from a point cloud into actual workable geometry. Luckily, with the environment plugin, we have a tool here on the terrain insight component. It's called point cloud to topography. So it does exactly how it sounds. It converts existing point clouds to the Revit topography. So here, as you can see, we have this point cloud. So it's some sort of a square or something like that, just some terrain, some trees, some facades, and now it's time to convert this into Revit topography. So what I'm going to do is just here, open up this menu, click on point cloud to topography, and then let's click on the point cloud. So here, first we can specify the maximum topography size. So the maximum is 10,000 points. I'm just going to leave it at that. And then we also have specify region. So if you don't want to turn certain parts of your point cloud into topography, you can use that. So here in the site plan, I can define this. So I can say, okay, so I want my topography to follow something like this. There we go. So once I'm happy, I can just go to apply region. There we go. And then I can click on create. Here we need to specify the base level, which I'm going to leave at level 1, and then the family type, and I'm going to pick the grassland 1200 millimeter, and then click OK. And now it's going to start processing the point cloud. And this was actually really quick, just 20 seconds or so, perhaps even less. And as you can see, now we have a topography that's perfectly following this point cloud. Now, what you can notice immediately is that only the terrain was converted into a topo solid. So it didn't convert the trees or facades or things like that. So it recognizes where the terrain is, and it only converts that into a topo solid, which is really cool. Now, just to see the extent of how precise it is, we can turn on a section box like this, and then let's cut into the terrain a little bit so we can see what's going on there. So as you can see, it's really precisely following the points of the topo solid at the terrain level, and then we can follow this more like that. See, it's really kind of precisely following that point cloud, and of course it is filling in the elements where we don't have any point cloud points. So anyways, let's orbit this around, expand it. There we go. So this is how the point cloud to topography works. The next tool that I want to show you is Rhino Assets. It's this tool over here. Now, when I start Rhino Assets, it's going to allow me to bring in a Rhino file. So let's find a Rhino file. I'm just going to be using this landscape model. Hit open. and then we can specify the units, layers, and so on. I'm just going to leave it as is and click OK. And now as soon as this is loaded in, this is where the magic happens. So if I open up the preview, this is what that file looks like. And here we have a set of all of the layers, and we can customize how Revit is going to recognize each of the layers and each of the elements on those layers, so we can convert it to actual Revit families. So let me show you how it works. First, I'm going to get rid of the 2D layout because I don't need it. So I'm just going to turn the visibility off, and I'm going to do the same thing for the building silhouette. So let's say in this example, I already have a building in Revit, and I'm just working with a landscape designer that's working in Rhino. So now it's time to convert everything into Revit. Okay, so once we have set all of this up, the next step is to just go through all of the elements here and convert them into Revit elements. So we have this nice pergola, something that has been done in Rhino, which would be a lot more difficult here in Revit. So what I would do is I would just expand that layer, and here, as you can see, we have 4 items. I'm just going to highlight all of them and then click on this little button here. There we go. And that's going to open up the import Rhino settings, and then I can import this geometry as a specific category. So in this case, I want to make sure that this is set to entourage here, and for the material, I'm just going to get that from Rhino display color, and then I can simply click OK. So now we have defined this pergola layer. Moving forward, here we can see that we have these symbols for trees. So they were just placed as symbols in Rhino, and we would like to convert them into actual Revit trees, the families that we already have here loaded into our project. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for tree symbols, expand that, and as you can see, we have 3 different blocks, and then this is the amount of each block, or how many items of each of these blocks do we have. So first, let's start with these 13, which are located here in the middle. I'm just going to scroll to the side, click on this little button to get import Rhino settings, and then here I'm just going to replace these with a Revit family. I'm going to expand this menu, and now let's search for Revit trees, and I'm just going to pick this 12-meter tree for this one, and then I'm going to click OK. For the second one, which is this one here, I'm going to go for something a little bit smaller. So again, let's replace it with a Revit family, and in this case, let's go with a 7-meter tree like this one here, and then click OK. And finally, for the last one, let's go with something a lot smaller. So in this case, I'm just going to replace it with a 3-meter tree like this one, for example, and then click OK. We also have these 3D trees. So if I scroll up, we have a layer for 3D trees. We have 3 blocks, and I actually want to keep these as is. However, I want Revit to recognize these as actual trees or tree categories. So what I can do is I can just go here, open this up, and then here we're going to again replace it with a Revit family. However, we're going to be creating a new family, so let's call this one the Rhino tree. And for the family category, let's go with planting, and the material can be or the applied material can be by category. Click OK. So now it's going to generate a completely new family by using this Rhino block, and then I can click OK. So as you can see here, now we have a Rhino tree family set there. And then we can do the same thing for the benches. So if I zoom in here, we can see we have some interesting benches. Again, this is something that would be really difficult to do in Revit. However, in Rhino, it's possible. So what I can do with these is, again, I'm going to find the benches layer. We have seven of them. And then let's just select that layer, go off to the side, click here to access the import Rhino settings. Again, we're going to replace it with a family and create a new one. So let's call this one Rhino benches. For the family category, let's make this entourage. And then for the material, I'm going to go get from Rhino display color, click OK, OK again. And now we have a new bench family. Now you can specify these families like this. However, in certain cases, like with the walls that we have here, I can just change the category here. So just to keep it simple, I can find the walls category, just apply that category, and we're done with the walls. Let's go with the topography system family. And then what I would do here is, again, I would click on this button, but first let's expand it, select the 4 topography items that we have. Then I'm just going to click on this button here. And now what I can do here is just import as category. And then here I can find my topography, or actually a topo solid in this case. And then for the material, instead of setting up material like this, we can say apply system family, and then we can check this, and then we can just pick which system family we want to use. Once this has been specified, we can just click OK, and now this will all be Topo Solid Grassland 1200. Now, after finishing this, one more thing that I would like to do is go here to this menu, and then we have the option to ungroup. So whenever we bring in these Rhino assets, they're going to come in as groups. You can ungroup them at any time. I just want to do it now, even before we finish the working in this dialog. So I'm just going to ungroup it there, click OK. And now it's going to start applying materials, converting everything, and then this is what we get. Now I can switch this to realistic. This is what that looks like. As you can see, we have our families applied. And now what's really great about these Rhino trees and other Rhino families that we have just converted Rhino geometry into a Revit family is that for each of these we have the basic constraints here. However, if I go into edit type, we also get a height parameter. So if I want to make this larger, I can say 8,000 millimeters, hit apply, and now it's going to basically grow these trees a little bit. And as you can see, we have that nice pergola, we have the nice trees. Now here, some of these might not be hosted right, so we have that issue with these trees over here. So I can just select those. Let's deselect this one, just like this, and then we can go pick new host and just host it to this topography, so it's going to look like that. Now, speaking of the topography or the topo solid, if I select it, you can see this isn't just simple dead geometry. If I go to modify sub-elements, there we go. So this is a topo solid, and we can continue modifying it however we like. So it basically converted that geometry from Rhino into actual live workable geometry in Revit. And we're going to be concluding this video here. So if you're interested in the environment for Revit plugin, I'm going to be leaving the links, as I said, up in the cards above and then also down in the description of this video. Thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to check out my website, balkanarchitect.com, for more Revit courses. There I have over 120 hours of content, and I'm adding more each week. Make sure to subscribe for more videos, and also I've added a video over there that might interest you as well.